It's the Friendly Fire Show, episode 179 for the end of July 2021. I am one of your hosts, Steve from Stevivor. I said the website. We don't need to say the website. Anyway.
Well, I'm Ben from Stevivor. If that's what we're doing, it's fine. And who else is here?
Eleni's here. I am the new intern at Stevivor and very excited to be here and chat all things games with you guys.
Excellent. Welcome to our special guest. Thanks for taking the time out to do this. This is part of her hours, of course, but it's after hours. So normally you're with us on a Tuesday. So do you want to give a brief introduction so our listeners and viewers can know how you've come into games and what you're interested in, all that kind of jazz?
Yes, well, thank you for the introduction, Steve. Yeah, so as I said, intern, doing some journalism studying at the moment, which is good fun. In terms of games, I'm a huge Nintendo fan. I've got my Triforce tattoo behind my ear that really cements me as a Zelda fan for life. I can never not like the series, which is a good or bad thing. Other than that, every other Nintendo title I love. Things like first-person shooters, huge Halo fan, Gears of War, Mass Effect is probably up there as well. So yeah, happy to be here chatting with you guys.
Nice. And so you and Ben have your Nintendo love. I don't think Ben has a Triforce tattoo, but there's still time. There's still time. Well, you got a new puppy, so that's good. And you're in lockdown. Well, join us. You're in the Cool Kids Club. This is our fifth lockdown. We're used to this.
This is only the third one, so third, yeah, but it's only the first real one.
An actual one.
There was an incident with a drug dealer who was selling pizza or something. That one didn't really count, so something like that.
Well, I think most Australians are in some form of lockdown. So stay safe. This sucks, but we'll get through it. There's tons to cover, so we're just going to jump straight into it. Eleni, you had a chance. I've been playing it too, but you've been playing it more. I think you're the expert here, but you've been playing Team Wibby's Phantom Abyss. So tell us about it, please.
Of course. Yeah, well, like you said, Australian devs, Team Wibby, Queensland devs, they've created this new game called Phantom Abyss, which, despite them maybe not liking the comparison, it is a bit of a Indiana Jones Temple Run vibe. It's a really awesome game, super high pace. So anyone who sort of likes that challenge, I definitely recommend checking it out, as well as anyone who likes sort of traversing the tombs, sussing out those kind of vibes. It's got a beautiful art design, super ultra saturated and really pretty. And yeah, it's like really fun. I'm definitely struggling with the game. I think Steve, you and I are both sort of bonding over our struggle and snail mail pace when it comes to traversing.
There was a brief second when so you interviewed Ben from Team Wibby not too long ago. That's going to come up soon, and you were having some PC problems getting it running. So I'm like, well, she can watch gameplay videos, but I'll record some of my gameplay and make sure she has, she's got a lot of coverage, so she can be across it if she can't play it herself. And I was recording myself playing, and I was just dreading having to send you the videos because I am awful. It's this really cool setup where you load into a procedurally generated dungeon, and you have to, or dungeon temple, and you have to get to the end of it, and only one person will ever do that. And if you die, you'll show up as a ghost. And it's either helpful for people who load into the temple because they can watch what you're doing and know when to jump or avoid a pitfall that kills you, or in my case, I think you were saying something similar, Eleni. It's just terrifyingly intimidating because the person just sets off full tilt, and it's just I can't coordinate myself to do the things half these ghosts are doing, and they don't make it because if they're a ghost, they're dead. So I don't know how my chances are in this game.
Yeah, I lose them in 0.5 of a second, and then that's it. It's like they're gone. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, Slow and Steady, wins the race. I feel like Steve will end up being the best players of Phantom Abyss. People will be asking us for advice, and we'll be like, we've got you, boo. We are the ghosts to trust, even though that would mean we failed. But, right to the bitter end, we'll get there.
Well, we'll keep sharing temples with each other and try to get better. And the good thing is, though, some games that are this like a Dark Souls, it's kind of like a Dark Souls, I guess, because it's just you're constantly being challenged and you're usually going to die. But a game like that, I don't like Dark Souls because it's just frustrating and I don't enjoy it. I don't find it fun. Even though I'm horrible at Phantom Abyss, I want to keep playing and trying new temples. It's not a deterrent. It's part of its appeal, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. I think that also comes with, like you said, the sort of ever-changing looks of the tombs. It makes it more exciting when even if you die after a minute, it means okay, I can regenerate, restart, have some more fun. But yeah, I do agree. Sometimes like games like Dark Souls and that sort of difficulty can just ruin and suck the life out of a game. But it's got a great balance of still being fun, still being a challenge, and it's beautiful to look at. So what more could you ask for?
Exactly. And so like I said, we'll have stuff on the website. If you're keen to check it out, it's in Steam Early Access right now. Something that isn't in early access on Steam, because I'm a great master of segues, Ben, is an old Zelda game on Switch. So why don't you tell us about that?
Well, this is the forgotten Zelda game. If I asked you to name me which Zelda would you like to play, no one would ever say Skyward Sword. So that's what Nintendo has re-released. They've done 3 HD remasters in their career now. All of them are Zeldas. Sidebar, there's a rumor that's back again that they've done Metroid Prime Trilogy in HD and they're holding on to it because it's too early to release, which isn't that the most Nintendo thing you've ever heard? A HD remaster, it's too early. Everyone else is doing a 4K remaster, but Nintendo's like, no. We can't run with the HD Metroid yet. Anyway, that's not here yet. Skyward Sword is here. So it came out on Wii in 2011, like right at the end of the Wii's life. So I don't know if you remember, it came out with Motion Plus because the normal Wii remote was not good enough to follow the tracking. Kind of annoying if you didn't have one and you didn't want to buy a new Wii remote, you didn't have a choice. But the whole idea was the motion control. So the entire game is basically Ocarina of Time's flow. So it's very linear, even less exploration than that really. Plus everything is designed around this kind of one-to-one tracking, which is not really one-to-one. That's kind of how they've sold it to us. And it's finally come out in a way that I can play it and not hate my life, because the motion controls work really well, but I just can't be bothered. Like, it was such an effort. It's a 40-hour game, sitting there swinging around. I love playing it with button controls. So I know you're not a motion control guy. I don't know about you, Eleni, if you're into motion controls. I just can't get into them, generally speaking. This was kind of the example of this is what the Wii was meant to do, and it works really well. This is kind of the follow-up to say all those innovations you did with motion controls, you could have done with Joy-Cons and a normal controller. So the motion is still there. It works great with the Joy-Cons, but it works better, in my opinion, with the Pro Controller on a TV. It's a bit hard to play in handheld mode. This was actually an Australian-made game too. Tantalus, I think, is a studio who've done the remaster. So they did Twilight Princess. So yeah, that's a cool little fact, which is not on the box at all, but they actually made this game in Melbourne in lockdown, I suppose. Yeah, so it looks okay. Like the last 2 Zelda games looked really good in HD. This one looks a bit dated. They used like a cell shading kind of watercolor effect with lots of droplets on the ground, which are colorful, and just pushing them to 1080 doesn't look that good. But like Link looks really good. It plays pretty well. There's a lot of backtracking, which is what people hated about it. The big 2 improvements is you can move the camera. So like, big deal in 2021.
Imagine that as an improvement.
You couldn't do it. But like, as I say that, well, there was no second control stick on the Wii, so there was no way to do it. So with the Joy-Cons, you can do that. You use it to, and you can just move it. In button mode, which is how I played, you use the right stick to move the sword. So you need to hold down the L button to move the camera. And I do feel like if they reverse that would make more sense, because the whole time, like, I subconsciously play a game now and I'm always moving the camera all the time, any third-person game. But you don't use the sword that much. So I feel like hold L to use the sword would have been better. But anyhow, the other thing they did is they got rid of, like, there's heaps of text in this game. And you know how Nintendo games work when they kind of the text scrolls and you just have to be like, yeah, come on.
No, you're reading this.
Yes,
Back
that's
here.
it. Yeah, I got the gist of it. Zelda's gone. I've got to find her eventually. You can now speed through that. And there's a Navi replacement called Fee who constantly would come up and be like, hey, maybe you'd like to check the map. And then you've been playing the game for 35 hours and she's like, hey, do you know you've got bombs? Like, yes, like, kidding me.
Are you aware that you're Zelda?
Yeah.
God, no. Maybe I do need her.
Yeah, that would be a big reveal. That would be very confusing information.
Yeah. Anyway, you can silence her now, basically. You can muzzle Fee, say, no, thank you. I've played a game before. But yeah, so it's much more playable. I think they've fixed a lot of stuff. Very annoyingly, they've added a fast travel, but they put it behind a chunky amiibo, which costs $35, and I think that's dumb as hell.
I was going to ask because I can see a lot of your amiibos on your shelf behind you, but I don't see
useless.
it.
No,
didn't get it. Yeah,
kidding me? This is outrageous that they've done that. But yeah, it's a good game. It's better playing it now, because when it came out, everyone was like, this is way too linear. It's like hand-holdy Nintendo style, but also not, because there's no quest log. That actually annoys me still. You start a side quest and it's like, if you don't remember, there's never any reference to it again. Like, when I was a kid playing, well, I wasn't a kid. How old was I 10 years ago? 20. When I was younger playing this, I had plenty of time. I could just play it. Now that I leave it for a few days and come back to it, I'm like, where am I? What am I doing? Classic, like old man level of playing a game. I need a quest log to remember what is happening. So that's a fault.
So you need Fee to tell you is what you're saying. You need her
but
to
she
pop
doesn't.
up.
You ask her and she just like, check the map. Like, oh my God. Why are you even in this game, Fee?
So Eleni, I'm ancient and Ben is slightly less ancient, and you are a lot less ancient than us. Is this your first Skyward Sword experience, or did you play the old one and now you're playing the new one as well, or where are you coming into this?
I actually did play the original. And I don't know if you remember, Ben, but when the game got released, they released it with like the gold Wii remote, which I actually have. So I was like, it was kind of weird playing it this time around. I was like, where's my gold Wii remote? I'm not going to buy the Joy-Cons. But yeah, I definitely agree. It was much more playable this time around. But what was funny was I found when I started playing the HD remaster, I was using the motion controls because, like you said, I could not get my head around, and this is me just being incompetent, having to hold down the left bumper to change the camera. Like, it was just really bothering me. And now I've gotten my head around it. It just took me like a couple hours of like rejigging my whole thought process. Because like you said, typically it's like, the right stick or like left stick would be cameras. So it was very weird. Yeah. But it's really enjoyable. I actually love Skyward Sword, and I often find myself defending it as a Zelda title because I really enjoy that it's a more sort of storyline based Zelda. It is quite linear, but it's also really enjoyable. I love the soundtrack. I think it's got like the best soundtrack of any Zelda title. And I quite like Fee. She's much better this time around, definitely less annoying. And one thing that I think is the biggest improvement, which is so ridiculous, typical Nintendo, is that now you no longer have to like deal with all of the items popping up and explaining them every single time you grab them. That was the most tedious thing. It's like, yes, I know what a green rupee is. I know what that is. I know what a blue rupee is. So
does the cool music still play though? Like,
of course it does.
Okay, good. Well, that's fine then. Okay, good.
How else would you know something's happening?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Work it out yourself. What? Work it out yourself. Imagine that. Read the text.
Music, yes. Text, no. Sorry, keep going.
But yeah, it's actually like I'm really enjoying it. Still making my way through, and I'm actually quite enjoying playing it handheld, surprisingly. But yeah, it's good. I think it's one of the better ones, and obviously the timing is perfect with Breath of the Wild 2 seemingly moving up into the skies. When Nintendo do plan, there's always a method to their madness. So I think it's definitely brought it. Sometimes.
Do you have the fancy fast travel amiibo?
No, I got so upset because I saw that you could use amiibos, and I was like, oh, so cool, I can use them. And then I realized it was just the one that I have to pay for, and I will not be buying that, which is a shame. But it's really good. I think it's bringing more love to Skyward Sword, and yeah, can't go wrong with the Zelda game, I think.
So what? Okay, you have like one sentence to explain it because we have to keep going on. Each of you favorite Zelda game and why? Very quickly, why?
Majora's Mask because it's so weird but great.
That's me. Ditto. That's it. Eleni. She's thinking. She has a Triforce tattoo. This is kind of a rude, a mean question, maybe. Like, oh, I love them all so much. They're like my children.
No, I think it always will be Ocarina of Time, just for nostalgia and just like quality. That's it.
Was that your first Zelda game? No,
it was. I have an older brother, so I played Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64 and Majora's Mask. So like the true, like if you can get through those games with that interesting controller, you can really play any game in any video game medium, I think.
Yeah, it's like 12 frames a second on 64 as well. So it's a hard slog to get through now.
It's quality.
Well, and like we're not talking about this for very long, but I just couldn't stop thinking about it. You were talking about like motion controls and like, like getting out of like camera brain of now. And like I talked to Tim Schafer, we'll get into that about Psychonauts. Like it's hard to play the old Psychonauts now because of like weird camera stuff. I maintain that the only game that's really better because of motion controls and like Wii controls is Resident Evil 4. I have my 360 here. I dug it out of the closet to play like Star Trek of all games, which was a horrible movie tie-in that Bandai Namco and I can't remember even who made, but like I had one achievement left in the 360 version of Resident Evil 4. So I started it and I played the whole thing on professional, and I had to like tape my hand behind my back because I was so used to trying to spin the camera, and it doesn't work in that game. It breaks things. The Wii version of that game, you just held a little button and you could just like spin around, and the camera was just like flipping around. It was like the best implementation of motion control. And because it was tank controls and like you don't have to run and gun, you just had to stand and gun. Honestly, like the best version of RE4 that has ever been made. And I don't think the upcoming VR version is going to be any better. No, I will not accept comments. We're going to keep going. And I have a really quick game that I've been playing that we put up the preview today, actually, which is Aliens Fireteam Elite, which is the 3v, like 3-player co-op, player versus enemy, multiplayer online shooter thing that Cold Iron Studios is making. Very much in the same vein as like Back 4 Blood or Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead and Back 4 Blood are by the same developer, and that game is coming out soon on Xbox Game Pass. So like free air quotes to like anybody who has that subscription program. So I don't think this is going to do well because it's coming out in August, and a couple months later, like the grandfather of all this, genre is releasing its newest game. It looks really cool. It looks very Aliens. It's very much in the Aliens universe. It sounds garbage. It sounds like someone's recorded all like the gunfire and stuff from like a VHS of like Aliens from 1980 or whenever it was from.
They probably did. The audio guy's probably in lockdown, and he's like, "This is all I've got.
Take it or leave it." And I played with Hamish and Luke, and it was fun, but like you walk down a corridor and something pounces out and traps you, and then you gotta like mash a button while your teammates can shoot at it, and then you get to a corridor or you get to like an open area, and there's like four, like you're looking forward, there's like a tunnel, and you're looking to the left and right, and there's tunnels going out that way, and you look behind you, and like you're just like, I wonder what's gonna happen. Are we gonna get rushed by aliens from like every conceivable way? And it's that, and then you go to the next instance where it's like that, and you go to the next instance and it's like that. And I know that Aliens kind of upped the ante and made it so it wasn't just one xenomorph and it was like, ooh, there's multiple ones, but like you're mowing down like hundreds of aliens by the time you finished a mission. So it kind of like, it's not scary, it's not tense any longer because you're just like killing anything that moves. And then there's a whole bunch of like special aliens that are, some will like bum rush you and explode with acid, some will like launch projectiles from afar, some like, I don't know, there's two that were exactly the same, a predator and a drone. They were just like big tanking things that like messed you up. I don't know the difference between those. And like the end of a mission's kind of cool because like it really amps up the tension and the difficulty, like and you can feel that happening, but it's exactly the same formula over and again and again and again. And like there's challenge cards. The one that I picked randomly, there's 4 classes. One's a medic, one, like one throws sentry guns, one has rockets. I picked a challenge card where you like always were getting your health ticked away, and every kill you made kind of gave you a little bit of health back. But because we didn't have a medic class, we were like, it was impossible to regain the health you were losing at the same pace. So like I just made it like incredibly artificially more difficult for like no fun reason apart from 2 XP. Like okay, cool. So like it's good. It's not good. I don't know. I'm really not excited to play it, and you can play it solo with AI, but it's kind of boring. So if you have a whole bunch of friends who are really obsessively into aliens, I guess go for it. Questions? Probably not.
Is it on Game Pass?
No.
It will fail.
Okay, so we'll play Back 4 Blood together. Okay,
yeah, we can't beat the game that's on Game Pass, which is the same thing. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Business move anyway.
So in the news, I had an interview with Tim Schafer, which I thought was really cool. It's all up on the website. I don't know how much you guys want to talk about it. Have you guys been across it? Do you want me to like give you some like key points, or how do you want to do this?
I haven't read any of this. I haven't seen your interview. I didn't even know you spoke to Tim Schafer. That's a lie.
Tim Schafer. I don't know why I said Tim. I was meant to say Ben.
Explain to us the highlights here, and we'll give you our thoughts.
Sure. So Tim is called the acquisition of Double Fine by Microsoft's one of limited integration. Air quotes there. Those are Microsoft's words, not his. But he's summarized it by saying like, I don't have to think about money anymore. Like 50% of my brain was always devoted to like whether or not we had enough, funding to get something over the line, or, like how we were going to try to find someone to pick this up. And now he doesn't have to worry about that. He can just, focus on the games he makes. Psychonauts 2 was crowdfunded by Infig, which is like a Kickstarter.
Which he partially owns, right?
I don't know.
Pretty sure.
Ooh.
I think so. Well, he was like one of the people who set it up initially because they didn't want to use Kickstarter.
Well, I didn't know that. I feel stupid. That's missed opportunity. But anyway, yeah. So like, this game has been in the making for like 6 years. They were getting ready to release and like, cutting boss fights and this and that and the other. And then Microsoft came on board with like its truckloads of cash, and no, the boss fights are back in and all this, that, and the other. So that's really cool. And then like, it was funny because I'm like, oh, Matt Booty, who's the head of Xbox Game Studios, was like, if they want to make Psychonauts 3, they can. We'll kind of let them do their own thing. Like, we won't force it, but if they want to, yeah, we'll probably be open to that. And he's like, oh, I hadn't heard that. Can I get that link, and I'll make sure I use that for, if he comes back to talk to me. And yeah, okay. So it sounds like it's not a bad gig working under Microsoft. You're not an indie studio, but also like you have a bit of security there, and they're not, like twisting your arm to, as he said, like they didn't get us to port games or make DLC for Halo, which Double Fine doing that would be a very, very bad choice. So like, they've got them to fill a niche, and that's good. There's tons of accessibility stuff that they covered. It basically, that's just kind of going on their mentality of, you don't have to get good if you want to, turn on invincibility and beat our game. That's just as valid as someone, ratcheting up, turning off the TV and playing, like imagining what you're seeing on the screen. Like if that's how hard you want to make it cool, like it doesn't detract if you turn on accessibility or not, which is good. And like things like Insomniac and Ratchet and Clank are doing that. Like I'm really happy with this new kind of mentality across the industry, not just with this game, but with a lot of, like, it didn't start, but The Last of Us Part 2 had a whole bunch of really crazy, awesome accessibility features. Like, and I'm, what I think about that game in some aspects, but like, you can't help but applaud trying to make it so more people can play your game and not feel like they're not good at it. The game itself, it feels a little old school still to me. Like with the combat, you have like a Psy Blast and you can hit people, like melee people, and then you've got like another thing, and sometimes you have to lock on and then flick the lock onto something else, and you just feel like you're doing too many things, and it's really clunky, and some of the platforming feels like that as well. But it's free on Game Pass.
How much of it is combat versus platforming?
What I played about 4 hours, and it was probably more platforming than combat. And I started to get better at the platforming, but it took me a really long time. Like some of the double jumps just kind of didn't feel like you have to like hit it right at the height of your jump to kind of get to some of the places that you want to. And like, I don't know, but I'm sure you can turn on accessibility and make it easier if it's driving you nuts. So
you can just start flying. That'd be good.
That would be
but
awesome.
Look, that's old school platforming is really hard. You need to get that jump perfect or else it doesn't work. So Xbox doesn't really have a platformer. Not that this is an Xbox exclusive, but it basically is as a Game Pass game. So it fills that gap for them. And if you really think about it, like as much as Mario is the king of 3D platforming, the only one really, its combat is pretty clunky still. Like you need to jump on Goombas perfectly, and it's a bit weird, especially in Mario Galaxy when you're kind of in this 3D space. So, and it doesn't matter because the platforming's so good. So it doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah, like hilariously fun. Looks crazy good, hilariously funny. It's really, I really like it. I went back and started playing Psychonauts, and it's that same old thing of like, don't use your right thumb, doesn't work. Yeah. You just got to use your left. But it's unplayable. That's free on Game Pass too. So like you can try it, and if you hate it, you just don't have to play it anymore. So that's kind of cool for that. It's like 120 up to 120 frames on Xbox Series. It's that thing of like we're letting it be on every platform, but on PlayStation, it's a PlayStation 4 game that's backwards compatible on PS5. But like,
know why that is? Why? Well, because the crowdfunding, they said it was coming out to like Xbox One, PS4, PC, probably Wii U at that time. I don't know if they stuck with that. Probably not.
No.
So they never said PS5 when they took that crowdsourcing money. So they don't have to do it now. They can just say it's on PS4. You can play it on your PS5. That's Microsoft's tiny little dig at like, yeah, we did it. Take that, Sony.
Exactly. Oh, they talked about on the original Psychonauts thing, they didn't archive their work properly. So like a lot of the stuff that was done to make that game originally hasn't been preserved properly. So if they wanted to do a remaster, they'd basically have to do a lot of it from scratch. So and like, so they might, like, they haven't said we're not going to do that. Like, they have the ability now, they have the funding to do it if people really demand it. But also, like, it looks really good if you're playing it in back compat on Xbox. It's just like that kind of mentality of an old school game where, you know, like the right stick doesn't do the thing that you're expecting it to do.
That's quite astounding. Like, you think when you hear stories about like the original Final Fantasy VII source code is lost, they've only got like a updated version that happened later. Then you kind of hear like this. That was like 10 years before. This is like a 2005 game, right? And they don't have it anywhere. It's not like that Mass Effect DLC that got lost, which everyone's like, yeah, one DLC, not the whole game.
Pinnacle Station was garbage anyway.
Yeah, it sucked.
But like Final Fantasy is Square Enix, or it was Square, I guess, at the time. This is like, I understand it from a Double Fine thing. It was pretty early in Double Fine's whole, you know, setup, and I think they were with like Majesco published it. Like,
yeah, but you kind of think the other way. You think like the other way, like little indie studios made their one big game they always wanted to make, and no one kept it.
Well, maybe they'll have the chance to redo it. Who knows? I don't know. I was trying to think of a segue into sports from Double Fine. It's not going to happen. A couple of big sports things. Eleni, are you a basketball fan by any chance? You don't have to be.
I have my moments. I'm a sports fan in general, so I wouldn't say basketball's my go-to, but I do like the NBA. So, you know, could do.
Well, we sat down with Visual Concepts really quickly. There's a whole bunch of stuff coming to NBA 2K22. It's mostly that thing of like, you have to have the good consoles though to get the real benefits. So there's like WNBA, My Career, and stuff on not next gen, current gen. I can't believe I said next gen, Ben. I'm surprised you didn't scold me.
Yeah, I'm not happy.
My Career and the City, like the kind of social hub, are being merged on current gen consoles and not on last gen. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff with My Team, which just means that they want you to pay for more things, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a huge basketball fan. I think it looks really good. Visual Concepts, Eric Bonch, but I don't know how to say his last name. Kind of like came out of like the thing that like surprised me the most in this thing that he was doing is he's like, oh, you know, like we've made the only like real next gen game out there. And, you know, like even a year later, NBA 2K21 is like the next genest game you've ever seen. I don't know, like Ratchet and Clank probably is one that I would use as a better example than a basketball game, but okay, cool.
They always do though, because the players always look so good because they've been motion scanned in, so they always use that as a look how good this game is. This person looks like a person, so we're kind of past that though.
I think so too.
And I mean, it's kind of easy to make a game look good when it's for the most part, you're just releasing the same game over and over every year. Like, it's not like you're really adding much content. So if it doesn't look good, I would be concerned, you know, like that's basically the one job. Like, it'd be a worry if it looked like a, I don't know, early 2000s, like wrestling game with those horrible visuals. Well,
Visual Concepts said they've, you know, redone, you know, the entirety of NBA for current gen, and now like with FIFA, this is a good segue actually, not if I call attention to it, they're introducing Hypermotion into their current gen iterations of the next FIFA game, FIFA 22, which, like, Ben, are you across this? Are you impressed by this? You play FIFA sometimes.
I do, but I'm not across this at all because FIFA has so many buzz terms. There's always some new buzz thing, like it's often nothing. Did that thing come out about Ignite being a fake engine, not a real thing, or did I just hear that in a pub and not meant to say that? Because
I've definitely heard that too, and it's long past, so it's fine. It was an old.
So this whole thing
rebranded
at the start of last year when they're like, on Ignite, this is so much better than 360 and PS3 because we have the Ignite engine for sport, and then comes out because some drunk guy in a pub told me one time there was no Ignite engine. They just rebadged the old one, and that's why they moved to Frostbite.
Well, some of them did. NHL's still not on Frostbite. I don't even think it's on. It's not even on Ignite. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so basically now whenever I hear some new buzz term, like, okay, fine, that's like the marketing guys have come up with this. You've added, you've tweaked something. It's the same thing. It's the same game every year. You expect it to look good. It plays pretty well. They have to focus on something, so they always like tinker with offense or defense or something. And sometimes it's better, and sometimes it's worse than last year. That's basically it. So it's hard to get excited over the new sports game.
Do you want the PR line for Hypermotion?
Yeah.
It's like machine learning to make animations look more realistic, and they've captured 22 players in an 11v11 game for like hundreds of hours to give you the most authentic football experience you'll ever get.
Do you know what? It did get so because last year they released the last gen version, then like 2 months later, next gen version came out. And the big difference was there's a new camera mode that looks more like the broadcast view, and it does look really good. It looks like what soccer looks like on TV, more so than what FIFA does. But I've been playing FIFA in FIFA view for so long that I can't play like that. It doesn't look like FIFA. It looks like real soccer, which is no good. It needs to look like FIFA for me to know what to do. So, too realistic.
Eleni, do you play FIFA?
I used to. Like, my like fondest memories of FIFA were like circa like maybe 2010, 2011, when like Fernando Torres was in his prime at Liverpool. And I used to like play through like career mode as Fernando Torres and just like on the easiest difficulty, score like 5 goals a game, which was amazing. But it's a hard thing where it's like they're the same thing over and over. So it's hard to just really get invested, but they keep looking good. I'm a big fan of women's soccer, actually. So I keep kind of holding out in like a silent protest for them to just come out with like a full giant roster where you can like have like epic like female like careers in like FIFA game. So I think that's why I've just like stopped getting into them, because they haven't really done much in recent years, but they look good. So I guess what more can you ask for?
NHL with a fancy engine and stuff, getting the same budget as all the other sports games. Yeah, I know. Okay, let's move on.
Hey, you want to talk about dodgy budgets? Look at the cricket game, which just got an update. Like, very good, but I mean, good on you, Big Ant, but it's still full of bugs, isn't it? Cricket 19 years later, let's do a patch. They've charged for a patch, $15 to patch in some stuff.
But anyway, it also good has on the 100. Isn't that a thing? Is that a thing? The 100? I don't know.
You know what that is? That's England didn't come up with the 2020 league, so they're like, forget 2020. We're doing the 100 anyway. I'm not going to get into the politics of global cricket with you. Ridiculous. Good on Big Ant for supporting local development. You've charged for a patch.
Brilliant. You know what Netflix isn't going to charge more for?
What, Steve?
Games?
Yes. It's hired a former senior VP of EA to lead a push into video games. They're going to focus on mobile games for the immediate future and release them to Netflix subscribers without any additional cost. Are you excited about phone games from Netflix?
I have a question. As you would be aware, Game Pass can't be on Apple devices because they need to have a separate app for each game. Apple has just randomly decided. So will Netflix be banned on all Apple devices?
Yes, unless you use a browser to access the game, I guess, in the same exact vein as Stadia and Game Pass.
It should happen, but it will not.
It won't. Eleni, excited about Netflix making a Stranger Things mobile game or something, I guess?
Well, I think, I mean, to be honest, not particularly, but I think it's exciting in the sense of what it could lead to. Obviously, yeah, we've seen in like recent years, Netflix are definitely sort of making a push to just sort of enter the world of gaming, you know, obviously having like something like The Witcher being like one of their big hit shows that they're really putting a lot of time and investment into. Definitely, I guess, displays that they're looking to really get into the gaming scene. So I'm not particularly excited about, you know, the launch of mobile gaming, but I guess what that could mean in terms of future partnerships, future like other games. So it's an interesting take. I think, you know, they're really trying to just expand their horizons, Netflix. I think so many good shows they just can after one season, but they're like, let's just get into the gaming world. So it's interesting, but it could pay off and it'll be exciting, I think.
I like if they got into it in the ways that you were kind of like talking about. Like they've made an amazing Witcher show, which is doing great. They've done a whole bunch of Castlevania, which has done great. If they made like a Dead Space TV show or something, I would watch that. I would watch that more than I would play a mobile Stranger Things game. And they did talk about the Black Mirror Bandersnatch, like the kind of
That's it.
choose your own adventure thing. That was really good. Like if they made video games like that, like a choose your own adventure, like branching path thing that you would like watch more than you play, I would be down for that more than what they're focusing on to begin with. But that's just me.
I think it will be unbelievably successful because they're going to go for like a Candy Crush type of thing. They're going to go for millions of people have this on their phone already. They're not going for us because like the reason why Stadia and Luna and the other 5 that I've forgotten aren't doing well is because it's like, here's how to play Assassin's Creed and the 3 other games you can get on every device, but worse. So they're absolutely going to go for that casual market who just wants to play an easy mobile game. You don't have to buy it. It's already on the Netflix subscription that you pay for. And some of them will probably be themed, like it's the Stranger Things puzzle game. Like it's going to be real basic games. And millions of people have access straight away.
Great. No, thank you. I don't want those. I don't want a majority of like Nintendo Switch games because they're not my target demographic. But I might consider buying myself a Steam Deck, which is basically like a handheld PC thing that kind of looks like a Switch, but can play like super intensive PC games and like anything, almost anything on Steam. $400 US. We can't get them here in Australia or pre-register to get them when they come out in December. But have you are you guys interested in getting a Steam Deck yourselves?
Does it play games natively, or like to play Flight Sim, do I have to stream it from somewhere? Because surely it can't play that.
It can basically play anything that is on Steam. And it's from the hardware itself.
It can play in the same way that my like Surface Book can play it and blows up.
I don't know the stats or the specs off the top of my head, but it sounds like it would play it on fairly decent settings. So better than your Surface Book. There's a couple
going to melt my hands off then?
I don't think so. There's a couple like little asterisks right now. Like it won't play the likes of like Rainbow Six Siege and Destiny 2 and like those kind of multiplayer games because of the way that the anti-cheat works. Like it plays Windows games, but it's like Linux based. And like I don't quite understand exactly how it works, but like it would load Destiny 2 and play it on ultra settings or whatever, but like it won't actually let you play it because of the anti-cheat like blocking it. But that comes out in December, so they might have that fixed. I would be more interested in a Steam Deck than a Switch for if I'm being general about it.
Really? That's interesting because I think it's exciting. And initially I was like, this is awesome. And then I kind of thought about it and I was like, okay, so it's essentially like a handheld PC console. And like reading more about it, they're really sort of pushing for like PC gamers to like get involved. It's the handheld console for PC gamers. But I was thinking about it and I was like, why would PC gamers want a handheld console? Like, I think the whole thing is, like you think about Nintendo always having the Game Boy, the DS, that really has always been attributed to like a more casual style of gaming. So it's kind of bizarre that they're really targeting the PC audience, but like, why would they want to play a handheld device when they have a PC? So I feel like it's interesting. And I don't know if it'll do as well as what maybe they're expecting it to. Even like looking at the layout, like the stick layout looks a bit bizarre. It definitely looks like it's going to be hard to hold. It's quite big and clunky. So I think, time will tell. Of course, it could be really successful, but I just feel like they're marketing it to the wrong people because it definitely seems a bit inaccessible to casual gamers. But then it's that whole thing where I can't imagine hardcore gamers would ever want it. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
It's trying to be a lot of things to a lot of people. Like it has a USB-C port and like you can get a dock or you can use like USB-C docks. So like it's almost like a portable PC. So like you could take it to someone's house and connect it to a monitor and like play it with peripherals like an actual PC setup, but like not. And I guess something that I think is really cool, like you can install whatever you want on it, like Windows things. So you could install like Dolphin on it and play old GameCube games or whatever on your fancy Steam Deck. So like it's like there's a lot of cool things about it, but also like I could do that right now at home with my PC, which I'm sitting in front of, and like I'm not leaving the house anytime soon. So why do I need a handheld version of what I have in front of me?
Hang on, can I install the Game Pass app through Windows then?
Yeah, And you can run like you
Perfect.
can run a browser. You could do Xbox Cloud gaming. You
so
can
that's
put on
what I want to
Uplay
avoid.
and Epic Game Store. Yeah, like you can do all the things. If you can install it on Windows, you can install it on the Steam Deck. It's
Okay.
basically a portable PC. So it's
Well,
kind of
that's
cool.
something.
But also,
Well,
like, you just have a PC.
You can stream all those Windows games to your phone, but it's a bit dodgy. So if I could just play them on a device, I'd prefer that.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what the pricing is here because it's not available to us yet, but we will keep people informed as we learn more. One more thing of news because we have to talk about this. We'll wrap it up really quickly, I promise. So you know how everybody wants a Splinter Cell game?
Yes.
Is it coming?
No. Well, no, not really. So I think we talked about it before, Ben. Project Battle Cat is like this weird mishmash of Tom Clancy's things, and now it's called XDefiant, which is basically like the XD, like laughing funny emoji. Like, it's so stupid. You can play as Ghost Recon, you can play as people from Splinter Cell, but not Sam, Echelon, his faction, and you can play as people from the Division, and it's like a 6v6, maybe 3v3 as well, I can't remember, shooter, which to me like doesn't have any appeal to anyone. It just is a thing that Ubisoft has decided to do and make free to play to try to get microtransactions, and I think no one will bother moving from Apex or Warzone or whatever else they're currently playing for free to play for this.
Yeah, they need to compete with Apex, and it's not going to work. Ubisoft has lost the plot this year, so I have no idea what they're doing or what their plan is.
Yeah.
I love that it's just this year they've lost the plot. I would argue that it's been going on for a while, but yes, this year in particular, they've really hit an all-time high.
Do you remember Hyperscape? No? Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, that's because for good reason. Are either of you gonna play it? I have zero interest in this.
No.
Yeah, no, it's a no.
Well, sorry, Ubisoft. That was the easiest, fastest news thing ever. Ben, it's time before we finish up for our weekly or bi-weekly or not bi-weekly, fortnightly segment, which we have to do all the time forever now because it's COVID. This week in delays. What's been delayed this week?
Well, speaking of Ubisoft, apparently Rainbow Six Extraction is delayed. This is the one that was called Quarantine, right? But then they couldn't call it that because we had to really quarantine. It was called Parasite at some point.
Yeah, it's 3 names. There you go.
That different game. And now we're up to Extraction. It's been extracted out to early 2022. No surprise there. I mean, Ubisoft only released like 10 games all at once for some reason. We took like last year when they released Watch Dogs and Valhalla and something else.
The
Phoenix Rising, like within 2 weeks of each other. Insane. So them getting some things out of the way of each other is not the worst idea. But yeah, that's fine. Is Riders Republic also Ubisoft?
Yep.
See, I don't know what's going on there. You played that though, right?
I've had hands off
seen it
with it like twice.
Okay.
That's October now instead of September, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Eleni, we don't do facts here. We just do like we stab at the
rough estimates.
Yeah, exactly.
Fact-based show.
Resident Evil Reverse. I don't know. It's one of those weird things. It's the multiplayer thing that was supposed to come out with Resident Evil Village. So, was originally scheduled for May of this year, is now 2022. Oops. And Ghostwire Tokyo, which is one of those Bethesda, one of the two PlayStation exclusives, or 1 year PlayStation exclusives. Actually, that one's not confirmed. We know that Deathloop is just a 1 year exclusive thing, but I'm imagining Ghostwire Tokyo would be the same thing. That's delayed into 2022 as well. Are any of you excited or not excited, disappointed, I suppose, of any of those delays?
Well, Ghostwire and Deathloop both coming out this year didn't make any sense, so that's fine. Although now it delays it a year to when I play it because I'm just going to play it on Game Pass. So I guess that's 23 for me. The others I don't care about.
There you go. I'd play the Resident Evil thing, I guess, but like they just did the Dead by Daylight Resident Evil thing, and that's my Resident Evil multiplayer thing right now. Not that anyone else cares. That's fine. All right. Well, good. Eleni, where do we find you on things? And it can just be at Stevivor if you want. You don't have to give out your social media if you don't want to, but where do we find you if you want people to know?
Wow, you've really put me on the spot.
Yeah, that was awkward. So
Not because I'm happy to put out the socials, but I don't know them, so we'll just have to keep everyone in suspense. But yes, I am interning at Stevivor, so you can find me there for the time being.
Brilliant. And we'll have up in the next couple days / week or so your interview with Team Wibby about Phantom Abyss, and maybe a review, which I don't think we can talk about yet because that embargo is not now. But there's tons of stuff coming from you. I'm very excited.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Ben?
Ben_Salter on Twitter, and yourself?
S Wright AU. Because there's many S Wrights on everything, pretty much. TikTok? OnlyFans, not TikTok, not OnlyFans either, actually. Everything else but those two things. And on that incredibly weird note, have a very good fortnight. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
See ya.
See you later.